Good morning. Welcome. Um, Here it is, proof to us that church is not a building. Welcome to the church of my living room. I apologize in the background. You can hear my dog, whom I couldn't send away. He's here with me, and he's very busy fake burying a bone that I gave him. So I also cannot promise that a cat won't jump on my chair. I also cannot sequester them. It is what it is. We're in this together, and it is all included. So welcome on this morning. Thank you for choosing to joining in, to be together, to spend time together. And we are going to join in with all the Unitarian Universalists in this country and wherever we are to light the chalice. And this is our chalice for today, and I am going to light it. This represents, symbolizes our truth-seeking nature. It is this light that reminds us that we don't have dogmas, for we believe those separate us. Instead, we seek truth. We constantly seek. We avoid conclusions. So please, will you say the words with me as I light this chalice? In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And if you too at home may have a candle near you, feel free to light it just to set the mood for this Sunday service. So how are you? Can you hear me well? Should I speak louder? Feel free to type in. I can see your typed in messages. I may forget to look at them, but I hope you can hear me. If this goes on for much longer, I'll make sure to buy an exterior microphone so you get a better quality, although who's to say that right now you don't have a good enough quality. So welcome, and tell me, how are you? How are you coping? How is the stay at home treating you, and how are you treating it? Recently I've been through a lot. And by recently, I mean well over a year. It started with this weird face ache, trigeminal neuralgia. It's a nerve ache. I had a horrible year because of it. And then in January of this year, early in January, something happened and I could no longer stand or sit without the feeling of passing out. And later I found out that I had a spinal leak. I was leaking cerebrospinal fluid. And when that leaks and you stand up or you sit up, then because there's not enough fluid for the brain to be suspended, the brain sags in the skull. And then you get that sensation. It's very painful, and you get that sensation of passing out. So I went to the U of M to get fixed. First, I spent a week in the hospital here at Bronson. They couldn't fix me. So I went, Patty and I, all hopeful, we went to the U of M thinking this is the 9th best neuro hospital in the country. Surely they will be able to fix me. They looked at my MRIs and all sorts of results. They came to me after having been there for 13 hours, 14 hours, maybe longer, and only to let me know that there's nothing they can do for me, and they send me home. And I asked them, but wait a minute, you're just sending me home, so are you telling me that for the rest of my life, I just turned 50, for the rest of my life I'm to lay down and not be able to stand or walk or sit? And he said, well, we can't help you. Go home and Google. So I went home, very deflated. We both were extremely deflated, but Googled. Also, I put it on Facebook because this connectivity today is amazing. And so one of our friends immediately posted an article about this surgeon in California who operated on somebody whose symptoms were almost identical to mine. So I Googled, I found his information, and I called him, and he's in LA, and he said, sure, I'll operate on you. There's a 98% chance of success rate. You just got to come here and I'll fix you. So I lay down for 51 days in more or less isolation because I couldn't leave the house. And I lay down for 51 days, felt like years, yes, before he operated on me. And then he operated on me, and after that I was able to get up, and now I am recovering. Well, why am I telling you all this? Because I've noticed that life has a way. And many of the things that we go through, we don't get to vote about. Like this virus. This virus just showed up. And I don't know if you've noticed, but did you get to vote? Because I didn't. So, as a result of this virus, we are trying to find ways to cope with it. And we're told that the best way to protect ourselves and to protect the medical system from being overloaded and unable to cope with the number of people coming for treatment is to isolate ourselves, to stay home. And I imagine that that is not easy. I had a warm up to this, so for me, it's starting to begin like, well, I guess this is what life is like. But for you, who is used to be doing, taking care of life, busy, 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 and then all of a sudden, it all comes to a halt. And while there is a great opportunity to rest up from our busy, busy life from before, there is only so much rest the body can handle. And trust me, I know that. I would have been so happy if I could have somehow canned my rest during those days that I was laying down, doing nothing. And so when I get tired now, I could just open a can of rest and then there I am, all rested. But it doesn't work that way. You can't rest ahead. You just rest when you're tired. And then whatever you rested back there, it doesn't apply in the present moment. So life has a way. And especially if you're an extrovert, staying at home is quite trying because we extroverts tend to recharge our battery when we are with each other. For me, it's weird even to give this talk right now when I get no feedback from you. Last week at least, we were at the church when we were live streaming, and Nick was there and Steve was there, so there were still 2 people there. But today, I'm only looking at my dog, and he doesn't care. So for us extroverts, this is a little bit difficult. For an introvert, it might be heaven, but this too shall pass. We will be back again, probably, to life. Hopefully never as usual, never as it's been, but we'll be back to socializing again. And then while there's opportunity in this to rest, to tackle some tasks that we haven't had a chance for a long time, that drawer that needs to be organized, that closet that needs to be organized, maybe that wall that needs to be painted. But then once you're done, you're done. And so there's opportunities and monsters too. And I know that my monsters are coming up. I get more time to be introspective and to look at myself and look at my ways and look at those places that I haven't yet squared away. You see, if you work on yourself and you square away 99% of yourself, like you worked it out, like you're functioning well, 99%, but 1% is undone. That's where 100% of your hell is. Mine is. So these are coming up for me. I take a look at myself and then I get that icky feeling where I failed to meet my own standards or my own wishful thinking of how I would like to show up in the world. And then I don't. I fall short of that. And I didn't get to vote about that either. So I called this talk It's All Included. I'm noticing that that's how life is. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's all included. And we don't get to vote. Right now it's virus time. It's stay-at-home time. And the only thing that we have a choice about is how are we with it? How are we through it? And if this is a time when we can stay home and maybe we finished painting that wall, hanging that picture, cleaning that closet, that drawer, the catch-all drawer, then perhaps we can use this time for introspection and for growth. Of course, maybe you're thinking, oh, how much more growth? Like I've done so much work. And I say, well, as long as you have a pulse, again, you gotta grow. We get to grow. There's still stuff to work on. Simply because we have a pulse. We're still alive. I will just give you just 4 little things as I'm sitting here at home and I'm working on my own self. I'm looking at resources, and I found, and you can also find them online. It's his name is Peter Scazzera, and I think his brother is Jerry Scazzera, and they wrote several books on spiritual health, emotional spiritual health. Now, of course, us churchgoers tend to focus on spirituality, at least a certain degree. But it turns out that we can't be spiritually healthy if we're also not emotionally healthy. So this one we have to square away because it impacts every aspect of life. And you heard me say many, many times. We Unitarian Universalists tend to get very involved in social causes, and I love that about us. However, we have no business changing the world around us until we square this one away. So this one we constantly have to work on because the change that we affect out there is informed by this one. So we have a responsibility to constantly work on this one. I am going to give you just some simple things to work on while staying at home. So if you have a paper and a pen handy, this would be a good time to take it out. Perhaps you'd like to take some notes, just to write down these 4 little things. But remember that this is also going to be available, this talk, on demand. So it'll be uploaded to YouTube. It will be also available here on Facebook. And I think Miriam also uploads them to the website, but don't quote me. I'm not sure about that. And also, if Miriam would like, you can just write down the 4 things that I say here type them up in the message section, and that way whoever is online can see it. So number 1 is quit caring about what others think of you. Would that be okay with you? Think about it. Think about how much of your life is consumed by wondering what others think about you. Now, I am the serving type. I'm a minister. So for me, it's like that. It's very important. And whenever I'm sane and I come to it, then it's not that important. But when I am asleep at the wheel, I really care about what others think about me. I care about my standing, how I'm perceived. And it is horrible because right now I see there's 31 people watching. Later, hopefully there will be more. 31 people think 31 different things about me. Which one should I care about? Should I care about the one that thinks positively about me? Should I care about the one that thinks negatively about me? Should I care about the one that thinks pretty much indifferently about me? Should I care about the ones that don't even join in to watch these talks? What should I care about? Who should I care about? You see how crazy making that is? When we start caring about what the other people think about us. But what's the best way to protect ourselves from caring so much about what other people think about us? For me, it's this. The worst thing that anybody could think about me, I already think about me. The worst thing that anybody can think about me, I already think about me. And I suspect the worst thing that anybody can think about you, you already think about you. So we have everything in common here. You think I am less than? Me too. Oh, how often I think that I'm less than. You think that I wasn't compassionate enough? Oh, my goodness. I'm with you. Yes, there are times when I'm not compassionate enough. You think that I didn't give you my undivided attention? Yes, I didn't. I had all sorts of things going on. I am Alpha and Omega. Sometimes I give you my undivided attention, and sometimes I just don't have the capacity. So should I defend? Should I say that, no, I was paying attention to you when I wasn't? Or should I just say, you're right, I'm sorry. I try to do better as I can do better. And sometimes I still won't be able to do better. And now we're not at war on it anymore. And I'm not discrediting your experience either, because it's true. I didn't give you my undivided attention. It's true, I could have been a lot more compassionate. I could have been a lot more present. We have everything in common here. Remember, the worst thing that you could ever think of me, I already think of me. So, instead of worrying about what you think about me, I just work on this one. I work on this one so I can give more undivided attention, so that I can show up more compassionately, so that I can put in my fair share. And then when I can't, maybe I can speak into it. Right now I don't have the capacity to be present. I don't have the capacity to put in the work. Right now I'm far gone. I need some time. So would it be okay with you to quit caring so much about what others think about you? And then when you stop caring so much about what others think about you, how does that feel? Because to me, it feels liberating. It feels like freeing, like I can breathe. There's room for me to just be. So number one. Number two, quit pretending. Quit lying. When I first came to this country, I would meet people, and I'm Hungarian, I come from Transylvania, so our culture obviously is different there. So I came here and I would meet people, and then I would ask them, or they would ask me, how I was. Hi G, how are you? So I'd stop and think, well, I'm a little bit hungry. I am definitely very concerned that my English is not good enough to carry on this conversation with you. I feel like hiding. And then I would start saying these things. And before I knew it, these people were gone and they were asking the next person, how are you? And then they would just say, oh, I'm fine. And then I'd look at them and I think, well, tell your face, because he hasn't caught up to it. Quit pretending. What if? What if there was another way? What if we could bring a different presence and just say, I am in a state of fear. I am in a state of worry. I am noticing several concerns. Would you like to hear about them? Because, you see, what is the consequence of always saying, I'm fine? Of pretending, of not telling really the truth. And I understand that this is the culture. And it doesn't mean that it's serving us. And today, in the midst of this virus, it is very obvious to me that the system that we created, that the culture that we created, does not really support human life. So just because the culture has ingrained in us to say, I'm fine, I'm wonderful, it doesn't mean it's not worth changing it. If the culture doesn't support our lives, then it is incumbent upon us, it behooves us to change that culture. I also remember, and now I'm sidestepping here, but I remember I once gave a talk at a different church, not this church, about how in this culture, and I got in trouble for this, so maybe I'll get in trouble again. In this culture, it is not polite to talk about people's income. How much do you make? In my culture, that happens all the time. If you will go and visit my country and you will befriend somebody, they will ask you, so what do you do for a living? How much money do you make? They want to know. And we ask this from each other. We also ask, and how much did you pay for that? We ask for that. And in this culture, that's just not polite. We just don't do that. But you know why? Because it's the only way to keep income inequality alive and well. You see, if you don't know how much I make for the same job that you are doing, you are also making, then you won't feel bad when you would find out that maybe you make 20% less than I do. Or I won't feel so bad to know that you make 40% more than I do. So then we don't talk about it. This culture was very cleverly, in my opinion, established by the employers. That way, income inequality could flourish. So it's the culture. Is it serving us? No. Is it worth changing it then? Yes. I told you that when I gave this talk at a different church, I got in trouble for it. People came to me very angrily with a lot of emotion and they said, G, and I'm often viewed as the foreigner. I speak with an accent. I was born on a different continent. And although I have lived more years in this country than over there by now, I am often still viewed as the foreigner. They came to me and they said, you know what, G? But that is the American way. So change it. If it doesn't serve you, change it. Quit lying. Quit pretending. Quit pretending that something works for you that doesn't. Quit pretending that you're doing better than you are. And then if you're doing great, quit pretending to make people comfortable that you're doing a little bit worse than you are. So live an authentic life. Live an authentic life. Number 3, quit doing things that don't make your tail wag. It is very interesting to me that when we come in touch with our mortality, so you see how we often, elderly people tend to say what's on their mind. They are a little bit closer to the end of their lives, and then they stop caring about what other people think about them, and they stop caring about doing things that doesn't bring them joy, satisfaction. But us younger ones who are not so, maybe not thinking all the time about our mortality, we will still do things that we think is expected of us, we must do. Oh, you would die if I didn't do it. You would die if I didn't say it. We would hurt your feelings, or there's just no other way. There's just no other way. So quit doing that. That doesn't make your tail wag. And right now, as we are dealing with this virus, this message is coming home to roost. As we are sitting here at home, thinking about our lives from yesterday, being introspective, I think we already know what is it that we're happy not to want to do anymore, and what are the things that we might miss doing. So do those things that make time collapse. You understand? It's when you do something and you don't even notice that you've been at it for that long. That's what you want to do. And then the things that make time feel like forever, quit doing that. And if it's a job and it feels like that, find another job. Find another job. Look for it. Find another way. You see, this is what this is all about. That in the face of anything that life holds for us, we can have another response. And for that, we need to know who we are. We need to know what we want and what we don't want. So quit doing what doesn't make your tail wag. And do that which makes your tail wag. And for that, you need to know also what makes your tail wag. Last week, in my talk, I said something about that. Do that which makes your tail wag. And my niece, of all people, wrote in and she said, I don't even know what makes my tail wag. So it's a good time to think about that. To look into this one and say, okay, what does this one like to do? What does this one like to be involved with? Who is this one? Yeah. So quit doing what's not giving you joy. Quit doing that which feels like kills your soul. And number 4, quit denying that you have fear, that you have sadness, that you have emotions. You know, again, the culture. We like to watch these movies with heroes who we put them on a high pedestal somehow. It's like they're just able to tackle anything. And reality is that we have a plethora of emotions, and fear is one of them. And when we have fear, just acknowledge it. You cannot acknowledge one emotion and not the other. So the price of denying one emotion is to deny all of them. To live an authentic life, you have to embrace it all. Because you see, if you don't acknowledge that you have fear, fear will have you. If you acknowledge that you have fear, then maybe you can find another way, and then fear won't have you. So acknowledge, it's normal. Integrate all emotions into your life. integrate them, and then see what that feels like. And just know that it's normal, that it's natural to have all these emotions. And then find safe people with whom you can talk about it. Maybe in the beginning it's just a therapist. Maybe it's your minister. Although you just heard that sometimes I'm not as compassionate as I would like to be. I'll do my best though, if you call me. Integrate all emotions into your life. The price of that, the consequence of that is, again, the possibility of living a truly authentic life. One where we don't pretend, we just are who we are and we process it so we may have a different response other than the knee-jerk response. I see another option for myself. I have fear and I see another option for myself. I'm experiencing sadness and I see another option for myself. I don't judge myself. I accept myself the way I am. So I may see another option. So I may step out of the tunnel vision into the large perspective. So the 4 things that I encourage you to think about, work on, as you have time to be introspective, is quit caring about what people think about you. Quit pretending, quit lying that you're fine. Quit doing that which doesn't wag your tail. And then quit denying that you have fear, sadness, negative, what we call, you see, even that is negative emotions. Why are they negative? Why are they negative? Why do we think about them as negative? And the moment we say it's negative, we don't want them anymore. And the only way not to want them anymore is to deny them. And then when we deny them, they're still there, right? They're still there. So they're doing the damage. We're just not allowing ourselves to have a constructive response to it. So, integrate all feelings. What a wonderful way to spend a whole week. Think about these things. Work on ourselves. I know that for me it's important because otherwise I show up in the world in ways that I don't want to show up. And then I feel icky. And that's okay too. It just means I have more work to do. After all, I do have a pulse still. I also want to remind you that during this time of virtual togetherness, we are creating opportunities to still be together. So Tuesdays, and we send out regular information, so please check your email for that. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we meet via Zoom. We get to see each other and speak with each other, and it is to foster that sense of belongingness. And to be able to debrief and just speak into what is alive in us in that moment, and perhaps get a little bit inspired or center within ourselves. We have also created, with the Miriam and the Caring community have been very involved with this, creating small groups. Each small group has a leader, and then you check in each week just to see how you're doing, if you have any needs. We're there for each other. We just learned now that church isn't necessarily the building, it's the people that care for it. It's the people who is the church. So we still care for each other. We're in each other's life. We still belong, and we find ways to be together. And also, some of you have already received a call from me, and all of you will receive a call from me during this time. Some of you possibly more than once. Thank you for joining in. I love it that we can connect. Where there is a will, there is a way. I'm also very grateful for this technology. Technology that shrinks the world, that even in our isolation brings us into each other's living rooms and hearts. So I love you all. I can't help it. And until we are together again, which is next week, we will extinguish this chalice. Well, mine has extinguished itself already, but I will say the words anyway. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Deep breath in, and gratitude. Have a lovely, lovely week. We shall connect again. And so it is.